Hey all, my name is Paul Borosky and I am the owner of Quality Business Plan as well as Quality Business Consultant. And what I'd like to do today is to introduce you all to the Beginner's Guide to Financial Analysis for Google or Alphabet 2021. So the way the video is going to play out is first and foremost going to go ahead and give you all a little bit of background about me, who I am, what I do, and why I do it. After that, we'll then go ahead and dive into my Beginner's Guide for Alphabet or Google 2021. I'll show you all the components of it, how I have it structured. And at the end of the video, if you're interested in purchasing the report or the beginner's guide, I will provide you all with the link, and also the link is right here. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and zip through this little PowerPoint presentation. So as promised, a little bit about me. Again, Paul Borosky, MBA, doctoral candidate, and owner of Quality Business Plan as well as Quality Business Consultant. I am a professional writer as well as financial modeler, and I do research about 15 to 25 companies every year. I'll go ahead and publish reports as well as beginner's guides for each one of them. So if y'all are interested in some financial reports or beginner's guide, check out my website right here. Also, I am the author of the Beginner's Guide to Understanding Financial Statements and Financial Ratios, published by myself, and you can find that on Amazon.com. And then finally, I'm an adjunct professor and subject matter expert in both business and finance, so I do have some academics supporting my thoughts and ideas for the financial reports as well as the Beginner's Guides. Enough about me. Let's talk about the start of the show, which is Alphabet or Google 2021 Beginner's Guide. So the way that I've broken up or I've structured the Beginner's Guide for Alphabet is first I introduce and summarize the income statement for the last 5 years for Google. And then what I'll do is I will summarize the balance sheet, or I summarize the balance sheet for the last 5 years for Alphabet and Google, and then provide y'all from some structure to better understand how to analyze the balance sheet. And then finally, the third section of the beginner's guide is focused on financial ratios. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at, or a sneak peek at, each one of the sections. All right, so for the first section, it is a summarized version of the income statement. So what I did is I went out, did a little bit of research, gathered the 10Ks for Google or Alphabet, and I summarized their income statement and I plugged their information into my financial model. So here's my findings going from the revenues, the costs, and then the income, the net income. And then the report continues. And for each one of the important line items for the summarized income statement, I'll then go ahead and break out each one of those important line items, and I'll go ahead and, for example, talk about revenues. I'll give you a definition for it. I'll give you the definition in other words, in layman's term, and then I'll give you some analysis tips, some tips and tricks on how to analyze a specific line item on the income statement. I followed a similar process for the balance sheet. So in the balance sheet section of the report, I'll go ahead and provide you all with a summarized version of Alphabet's balance sheet. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and break out each one of the important line items. I'll explain that line item. For example, cash. I'll give you a definition for cash. I'll also give it a definition in layman's terms. And then what I'll do is I'll give you all some tips and tricks on how to analyze that specific line item. For the third category, or the third section for Google's financial report, Google's beginner's guide, what I'll do is I have broken up various financial ratios into 4 categories: are the liquidity ratios, asset ratios, profitability ratios, and then debt ratios. And for each one of these categories, I'll then go ahead and provide you all with various ratios for each one of the categories. And first what I'll do is I'll summarize those ratios. And here's an example of it. Liquidity ratios, current ratio, cash ratio, quick ratio, and then net working capital. And then I'll give you the formula for each one of those ratios that I used. Next, what I'll do is I'll give you all the findings, the summary findings of the various ratios. For example, for Google's last 5 years for the current ratio, here is the current ratio for, the last 5 years for Google. Also, I'll then go ahead and identify important ratios that I want to go ahead and expand upon, and I'll give you all an explanation of what that ratio is. I'll provide you all with a formula again for that ratio, and then I'll give you that ratio's meaning in layman's terms, And then finally, what we'll do is I will give you some analysis tips as to how to best understand and analyze that specific ratio. And then the final part in each one of the sections is I'm going to give you the calculations that I used for the current rate for that specific ratio. For example, the current ratio, the formula is current assets divided by current liabilities. I'll show you the current asset numbers that I used. Then I provide the division sign, and then I'll show you all the current liability numbers that I used, and then finally the calculated results for the specific ratio. All right, so hopefully this information was helpful, and if you are interested in buying the beginner's guide to analyzing Alphabet or Google 2021, the link to purchase the PDF file is right here. All right, so hopefully this information was helpful. As always, have a great day. Thank you.